You see him on the news.
CNN.com contributor, Dean Obeidallah. So, Dean,
watch him at comedy clubs.
When I say Mecca, do you think of a holy place or an urban clothing line?
Read his articles, and you hear him on the radio. The Dean Obeidallah Show is on live right here on SiriusXM Progress, channel 127.
And welcome to the show, brothers and sisters of the resistance. It is Friday, November 9th. We're live for the next 3 hours. I'm Dean Obeidallah. Hope to be your MBFF. I'm on Twitter at Dean Obeidallah. Facebook.com/Dean of Radio, where you can actually watch the monologue if you so choose and put comments there. I appreciate it. I always try to go back and look at them. Or drop me an email, dean@deanofradio.com. As I said yesterday, and some people did it, during the campaign the last few months, many people were nice enough to email me and suggest candidates, and we had many on, and I really appreciate you suggesting them. Now I would love you to suggest topics that you'd like us to cover, substantive topics. They don't have to be Democrat, Republican, but, next few months we're going to have some heavy political days, but we'll have other days where things slow down, and we can go back to all of us learning about new issues and new topics. And I love to learn, and I know progressives, you all love to learn. So any topics, drop me an email, and we'll do our best to have them on. Dean@deanofradio.com. That's Dean@deanofradio.com. So a lot. I know Michael did a lot on election updates. There's things going on. Florida, Georgia, Arizona. Trump is literally tweeting about Arizona just a short time ago, saying maybe we need a new special election in Arizona, because Trump is literally so upset with the voting results now favoring Kristen Sinema, the Democrat. We cannot say for sure that's how it's going to end, but she's now leading. And I read the local Arizona papers today, a short time ago, and they think she has a pretty good shot. Who knows, though, right? But Trump wants a new election. This is where we are. But we're going to talk a lot about his pick for acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker. But first, look, it's Friday. We need a little humor. Here is Stephen Colbert last night talking about Jim Acosta losing his press pass to the White House. Here's clip number 1.
Last night, the White House revoked Jim Acosta's press pass. Oh, no. Now how will he not get answers to his questions?
And then Colbert went on with a longer clip here of the intern, the White House intern. If you saw the footage, where Jim Acosta was there and Trump's yelling and unhinged and losing it. And he's so upset because of the blue wave. And it's very clear it was a blue wave. He's unhinged. So this young woman's an intern comes over and tries to get the microphone from Jim Acosta. And here is clip number 2.
Yesterday at the White House press tantrum, the president and CNN's Jim Acosta just got into it, okay, until an intern was dispatched.
Do you think that you demonized immigrants in this election to try to keep them?
I want them to come into the country, but they have to come in legally.
They're hundreds and hundreds of miles away. That's not an invasion.
Honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
All right.
And if you did it well, your ratings would be much better.
If I may ask one other question, Mr. President, if I may ask one other question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough.
Mr. President, I was going to ask one of the other folks.
That's enough.
Pardon me, ma'am.
That has got to be the worst intern assignment. Okay, guys, gather around. Alan, you're in charge of coffee runs today. Brad, you're in charge of making copies. Kathy, you'll be destroying the First Amendment, okay? Remember, it's for college credit.
Funny stuff there. And then last but not least, here's Jimmy Kimmel talking about Matthew Whitaker, who we're going to talk about right afterwards. But Jimmy Kimmel last night on the show made a great point about Donald Trump's choice for acting, and he's simply acting. It's like a casting to have a guy as DA on Law & Order as acting Attorney General. So here's clip number 3, Jimmy Kimmel.
Super qualified. This is for real. This is the current acting Attorney General of the United States, who is now in charge of our Justice Department and the investigation into the guy who just promoted him.
It's a unique design that's going to help lots of people that have mobility issues get in and use their hot tub in a safe manner.
Well, I hope that's a hot tub time machine to take us back to 2012. Believe it or not, the company he was promoting turned out to be a scam and was forced to pay millions of dollars in damages after being shut down by the FTC. But only the best people. We've got a jacuzzi salesman Attorney General. He should jacuzzi himself from the Mueller probe is what he should do.
And folks, that is true. So, and I know Micah went through it. Let's meet. I wish we had music. Meet Matthew Whitaker. Ladies and gentlemen, the man that Donald Trump has entrusted to be the top law enforcement officer at the Department of Justice, a man running a vast organization that is supposed to protect our civil rights and criminally prosecute and investigate people. Matthew Whitaker. What do we know about Matthew Whitaker, folks? Well, first of all, as Jimmy Kimmel mentioned there, he was on the advisory board of a Florida company called World Patent Marketing, which bilked thousands of consumers of millions of dollars by promising lucrative patent agreements. It was shut down, this company that he was on the board, and fined $26 million. It was shut down by the federal government, by the FTC, Federal Trade Commission. And so if you're thinking, well, maybe he's just on an advisory board, he's not really personally involved. Nope, think again. Matthew Whitaker was personally involved. He was on the board. He was quoted in a news release issued by the company as saying that he was honored to be a part of World Patent Marketing because it was, quote, trusted partner to many investors. In another news release, Whitaker quoted saying, as a former U.S. attorney, which he was, I would only align myself with a first-class organization. But it gets worse. Matthew Whitaker was actually involved in helping defraud people. That's really what's going on here. Matthew Whitaker, I don't know how he was not criminally investigated for his actions. We'll leave that for the authorities. Court documents show that when consumers who are getting screwed over by this company that was ultimately shut down, the founder, Scott Cooper, would use Matthew Whitaker to threaten them as a former federal prosecutor. In fact, Whitaker was not just threats, he actually was involved himself. Whitaker, according to court documents, used the law firm that he worked at in Iowa at the time to respond to a man in August 2015 who had complained about losing his money to this scam company. And what did Whitaker write in response to him? Your emails and message from today seem to be an apparent attempt at a possible blackmail or extortion. Adding, you also mentioned filing a complaint with the Better Business Bureau and to smear World Patent Marketing's reputation online. I'm assuming you understand that there could be serious civil and criminal consequences for you. Let's put this in perspective here. You're screwed over by a company. Your recourse as a private citizen is to go to the Better Business Bureau or to consumer companies, consumer financial disclosure companies or consumer protection boards. And you will tell the company that I'm going to go to these agencies and I'm going to report you if you don't do the right thing. What did Matthew Whitaker say to that person? If you do that, we are going to sue you and you could face serious civil or criminal consequences. So Matthew Whitaker, to be clear, this was his letter. This is not like he did a press release. He sent a letter defending fraud. Now, did he know it was a fraud? That's the only question that makes it a crime. If he knew it was fraud at the time and he was defending the company, he is involved criminally. I don't have the answer to that. I'm not going to speculate. About law things, I don't speculate. Another time, a frustrated customer wanted their money back, a man named Richard O'Neill. The company head, Cooper, used the name of Whitaker there to threaten him, saying that the guy said, I want my $1,300 back. And Cooper wrote, you are aware that we have a former U.S. attorney on our board. Mr. Cooper paid Whitaker nearly $10,000 before the company closed. And then we learn more. So first of all, he's involved with shady companies. As you get a sense, Matthew Whitaker, not suited to be attorney general, much better suited to be like head of Trump University. I think he'd be pretty good there. Maybe a professor at Trump University. Or if you look at Whitaker, he reminds me of a cross between a James Bond villain, an infomercial host, and a snake oil salesman. That's what he is, not a guy who's an acting attorney general. In the big picture of things, I think Matthew Whitaker is simply expendable to Donald Trump. He sent them over there. Maybe fire Mueller, maybe not, but at least get information on what Mueller's doing and send it over because he knows he can't get this guy confirmed because it's even worse with Whitaker. When Whitaker was running for the U.S. Senate in 2014 for the GOP nomination, we learned today that he advocated Christian Sharia law, one of my favorite topics to cover. And here's a clip of him at the debate talking about his view on the law and what he wants as in judges, if he was elected to the Senate, what he would require from anyone up there nominated to be a judge. What does he want to see from them? Let's hear clip number 6. Here's the voice of Matt Whitaker.
What I'd like to see is things like their worldview, what informs them, how have they lived their lives, are they people of faith, do they have a biblical view of justice, which I think is very important because we all know that our government...
Levitical or New Testament? Huh?
I'm a New Testament. And what I know is as long as they have that worldview, that they'll be a good judge. And if they have a secular worldview where this is all we have here on earth, then I'm going to be very concerned about how they judge.
Oh, I'm very concerned about you. Are you kidding me? Look, maybe I missed that day in law school when they told me that judges should have a biblical view of the law, and if they have a secular view, they're not doing a good job and they're not doing good jurisprudence. Maybe I missed that day or that week or that year. Are you out of your mind? Can you believe that is Christian true law? Imagine a candidate for Senate who's a Muslim who says, well, I will only vote for judges to confirm them if they're religious, they have a Quranic worldview of justice, and it very Quran, not New Testament, not Old Testament, just Quran. And what is a biblical view of justice? Are we talking about in Deuteronomy? It says if a woman who's not a virgin on her wedding night, she should be brought to the town square where she shall be stoned to death. Or, well, he did say New Testament, so let's be fair. So, like Luke 19:27, the New Testament says, but those enemies of mine who do not want me to be king over them, bring them here and kill them in front of me. Is that the New Testament justice? Or maybe in Timothy, where it says, I want women to dress modestly, with decency and propriety, adorning themselves not with elaborate hairstyles or gold or pearls or expensive clothes. Is that the biblical justice that he wants? Is that what he has? Is that what we're going to find out at the AG's office now? Women, you can't wear earrings. You can't get your hair done. Is that biblical that's biblical justice? This is off the charts craziness. And also, just so it's very clear, Matthew Whitaker does not believe in the United States system of justice. He does not, and I don't mean just because he wants to base our laws and court decisions on the Bible, which is stunningly horrific, in a complete violation of the First Amendment, which says there should be no establishment of any religion. But in that 2014 election, he talked about two stunningly scary things if you believe in our system of government. One, he said the judiciary is inferior to the other two branches. No, that's not what the Founding Fathers meant. They equal, three equal parts to our government, and each being a check and balance. He said they're inferior. And then he said something, and you might know this name, and if you're a lawyer, you know this, but if you're not, you might still know this name. He said the decision of Marbury versus Madison was wrong. Marbury versus Madison, folks, is the very essence of our entire jurisprudence system. It's from Justice Marshall, 1789. It was one of the first cases. And it stands for this proposition, judicial review, which, forget that term, it simply means the courts get to interpret statutes and executive orders of the president, and they can be a check on both Congress and the president. Because if they're not, they're meaningless. And he does not believe that our court should be a check on the president. He does not believe our court should be a check on Congress. And this man is acting attorney general. This is unreal. So, are you worried about Donald, that he'll do whatever Trump wants? Yeah, I'm worried, though. He's going to try to impose Christian Sharia law, tell women you can't wear jewelry at the office, and tell the courts that how dare you question any decision of Donald Trump or the Congress. This is ridiculous. This is not the American system. And, of course, other things were documented earlier about this character who does not believe in Donald Trump should not be investigated. He doesn't believe Donald Trump Jr. should be investigated for the Trump Tower meeting, saying anyone would have taken that meeting. That meeting was a crime on its face. It was violating the law, meeting with a foreign national to get dirt on your political opponent, which that's what Don Jr. thought the meeting was about, was saying a contribution from a foreign national. That is, on its face, a violation of our Federal Election Commission laws. Yet this man on cable TV defended that. Matthew Whitaker does not believe in the American system of law, of justice, of our system of government, of checks and balances. He sadly believes in one thing, Donald Trump. And this is a man who should not at all be anywhere in the government. Now, people want to elect him, that's their choice, and he will not be confirmed. I can't guarantee because I can't tell you with the Senate, but I think it's very likely he would never be confirmed. That's why you already have names floated like Chris Christie might be a person nominated to be in there. And there are also questions, and this could be debated legally, by really smart people. You can debate it and go either way. Is even this appointment by Trump of Matthew Whitaker legal in any way? Is it unconstitutional? And there are so many articles today written by people who are really bright, good lawyers, served in government, debating that back and forth. Ultimately, you're going to have a court decide that. To me, I'm really troubled by it, but Trump is saying that he can appoint Whitaker under the Federal Vacancy Reform Act, which lets him have 210 days to have Whitaker there without having a confirmation. But others argue that doesn't apply to a principal of the government, which would be like a cabinet level position, so that Whitaker is unconstitutionally chosen and any decision he makes is actually invalid. And there was a great op-ed today in the New York Times written by George Conway, who's Kellyanne Conway's husband, who's a well-known lawyer, and the former acting Solicitor General under President Obama will make a compelling case that everything's unconstitutional. So I don't know how that plays out. You're going to need a court to decide that, frankly, and it's not very clear. But this guy's horrible. But this is the nation we live in, and thank God, thank God, thank God. And if you don't believe in God, and I do, if you don't, thank anything you want. Thank yourselves. Thank the blue wave. Thank the resistance that we got the House. And yes, this guy could do some damage in the next 2 months. I'm not sure how much, but as Congressman Mark Pocan said on Wednesday, even if somehow Mueller is dismissed by these guys, they will have Mueller and others testify in open committee hearings, and the entire nation will hear all the evidence that was in the report. Because why we can't get the report, it's up to the DOJ, the Attorney General, to give us the actual written report or not, does not mean they can't have Robert Mueller and others come before the committee and tell us about their findings, because me and you paid for this investigation. It's all taxpayer dollars. So except for things that are privilege or confidential or executive privilege, we get to hear about it. And that's the way it's going to go. So thank you, everyone, for working so hard to save our nation. I honestly can't believe Donald Trump has not attacked all the Democratic House races and said they were illegitimate, like he's doing now with the Florida recount. We might have a recount there. We're going to find out tomorrow. And attacking the election in Arizona. And he's quiet on Georgia, waiting for that to play out. And that's getting closer and closer too. So, all right, folks, let's take a break. We had a week with a lot of issues. We had we had election. Now we've got Donald Trump, and I'm not sure how much you saw about this. There's a new report from the Wall Street Journal a couple hours ago that federal prosecutors have evidence that Donald Trump did direct Michael Cohen to violate Federal Election Commission laws. We can touch on that if you want. That would mean the same point that I tried to make a few months ago in August when Michael Cohen pleaded guilty, and specifically by implicated Donald Trump, that Donald Trump is a co-conspirator in violating Federal Election Commission laws. That is criminal. I'm glad we're getting back to that. We'll see how that plays out. But look, anything you want to talk about, there's so much going on, from the elections to this ridiculous guy, Whitaker, who has no business being there. Looks like he should be in a new version, a traveling road show of Annie, perhaps, but not in the Attorney General's office. 866-997-4748. Be right back with more of the Dean Obeidallah Show and your calls after this. Progressive values are the best of American values, and we need to keep fighting for them to save our country.
Don't go anywhere. This is the Dean Obeidallah Show on Sirius XM Progress 127.